You know, I think Louis Theroux's new Netflix documentary, Inside the Manosphere, missed a huge opportunity. No, not to shine a light on these chauvinistic assholes, he does that pretty well. He missed completely why these guys became chauvinistic assholes in the first place. Hey, I'm Mike, I study film, I work in TV, and if you love movies as much as I do, hit that subscribe button and get notified when new content's posted. I've been posting videos online for about 1.5 years now, and the first lesson I learned is that if I say something controversial, or God forbid I get something wrong, my views will go up. Strange, right? If I were in high school and I said something controversial, people would confront me about it. If I said something chauvinistic, no doubt one of my female friends would have something to say about that too. There would be a clear cue that as a society, we don't tolerate that kind of talk. It's how we create a functioning society around a shared set of values. But online, things work very differently. You say something controversial and people will comment and return to comment again and again, whether they are agreeing with you or disagreeing with you. Each visit brings another view, clicks the stats up a notch, and drives revenue. The algorithm sees those views and thinks, hey, this video must be popular. People are talking about it, and serves it up to more and more people, and on it goes. And voila, you have yourself a viral video. It doesn't matter if you're talking against it or you're agreeing with it, you're getting positive reinforcement and that video is going through the roof. That's why videos on conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. It's not just people who believe in them, it's also the people debunking them driving traffic. There's a quote I like and it's attributed to Mark Twain, but I just looked it up. It actually predates Twain. It says, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes." Now me, I don't want to be known as someone who gets his facts wrong or just says shit to stir the pot. I'm trying to create a place online for people to come and learn more about the movies they watched and to provide a place to talk about those movies. Maybe you didn't understand the ending. Maybe I can provide some kind of insight to that. On more than a few occasions, you guys have changed my mind on a movie and even recommended amazing films that I might not have watched left to my own devices. And I thank you for that. In Louis Theroux's new documentary, Inside the Manosphere, he looks at the culture of toxic masculinity that is breeding online. He follows 4 of its most prominent mouthpieces. First up, Justin Waller is an American entrepreneur, real estate investor, and YouTuber. He's best known for being the founder of Red Iron Construction. He seems to be the only one with a real job. Then there's Sneeko, as he's known. Sneeko initially gained recognition for his YouTube channels, where he amassed over 2 million subscribers before being terminated for repeated community guideline violations. He's probably the most political of the bunch, having gone full MAGA. Then we meet Myron Gaines, who's the host of the Fresh and Fit podcast, a #1 best-selling author, and a real estate investor. Prior to entrepreneurship, Gaines was a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, in the Laredo, Texas, and Miami, Florida field offices. He holds a criminal justice degree from Northeastern University in Boston. I had high hopes for Myron when he was first introduced in the doc, but things went south fast. And finally, Harrison Sullivan, known online as HS Tiki-Taki. Online, he's described as a British TikTok influencer who makes fitness, crypto, and dating content. Dating? That's a loose term for what he does. He promotes OnlyFans girls and takes a cut, kind of like a pimp. Thankfully, I didn't know who any of these clowns were before watching Inside the Manosphere, and neither did my 16-year-old son. I gotta say, this was an eye-opening documentary. Louis Theroux's way of interviewing is to just ask a question and let the subject just speak, oftentimes digging their own grave and incriminating themselves, but his format may have been of its own undoing here. These guys are some of the most media-savvy people on the planet. They've crafted an image of themselves and live in front of the cameras. They're bad boys. They're known for bucking the norm, saying things that usually go unsaid, because they're loners, Dottie. Rebels.
I'm a loner, Daddy. A rebel.
What I'm trying to say is they know what they're doing. It doesn't make them less of an asshole, but they are acutely aware of the image they're crafting for themselves. And I think this is where Theroux gets it wrong. We have to keep in mind that these guys are not who they are because their childhood lacked a positive male figure, or there was violence in their lives, or drug abuse. I'm sure all of that played a part. These guys became who they are because of the positive reinforcement they get from their online community. This is the biggest problem I have with the media today. We are all in our own media bubbles. We surround ourselves with the kinds of images and thoughts that reinforce our own ideals, no matter how fucked up they are. In simpler times, these guys would have been speaking to a more broad audience who wouldn't let them get away with that kind of stuff. Back when there was less media outlets, our culture sort of moved as a group all together. But now the internet is facilitating these threads of culture that are spinning off and creating these toxic media sidebars. It's not just these guys, it's the QAnon folks and the flat earthers and the birds aren't real guys. That's a real one. Look that up. These dudes are allowed to spread their offensive message without the weight of a civilized society around to curb them. This kind of hate speech has always existed online. It was just relegated to chat rooms. But now, in the content creator ecosystem, it can gain traction quicker, and these guys are willing to put a face and a personality to these thoughts. They can spew them out for young, impressionable boys to lap up and comment and like and share, and on it goes. It's a vicious feedback loop. These guys are so media savvy, in fact, that you can see the moment they realize the audience on the other end of the documentary's camera is a very different audience than they're used to speaking to in their Manosphere live streams and whatever. They all seem to come to that conclusion, except one, and I have to single out Justin Waller for a moment. Most of the other guys are confronted with the things they've said to their Manosphere. For example, Myron Gaines and his girlfriend eventually break up over Louis Theroux's questions about one-way monogamy in front of his girlfriend. One-way monogamy is something all these guys seem to have in common. It means their girlfriends have to be monogamous to them, but they don't have to be monogamous back. This was clearly news to Myron's girlfriend. Myron says one thing online and something completely different when she's around. But let's get back to Justin Waller. While I don't agree with Justin's message, he appears to be the only one that has cleared this one-way monogamy thing or trad wife dynamic with his wife, and she's okay with it. I know it's messed up, but the guy can live his life any way he wants, and as long as both parties involved are on board, you do you, bro. There's a really funny moment right at the beginning where Louis Theroux is gearing up for an interview with HS Tiki-Taki, and rather than talk to Theroux, HS turns to address the cameras as he would one of his lives, because that's what he's used to.
I normally train a little bit earlier in the day. I like to start my day off working out, doing hard things. Who are you talking to? What, do I not talk to them? Don't talk to him. Talk to you.
We're not on social media now.
Louis is in the background, kind of expecting HS to talk to him, but he doesn't. Here's a guy who lives his life online and does the only thing he knows. He talks right to the camera, right to the audience. It's a really funny clash of cultures as the new media meets the traditional media. Like I said, Theroux tries to track down the guy's family histories, their upbringing, history of violence in the household, but ultimately misses the ball not discussing the very thing that created these monsters in the first place, the internet. All of these guys are in it for the clicks. I'm not saying they don't believe what they believe, but they're reinforced by the clicks they're getting online. HS Tiki-Taki says almost the exact thing, and Theroux doesn't even seem to hear him or doesn't understand. Theroux is grilling HS over the fact that he promotes OnlyFans girls on his Telegram, but would never let his daughter or his girlfriend do OnlyFans. Seems hypocritical, right? That realization would stop most people in their tracks. HS says he does it for the money, and that there isn't anything wrong with that. He's right. There isn't. Lots of people swallow their pride for a job. What I have a problem with is the vile hate speech that he spreads to his millions of followers, all young men who are at home eating this shit up, fueling more hate speech. It's a vicious cycle, and HS is a salesman. He actually calls himself that, a salesman. He's selling chauvinism and male superiority, and his preteen customers are there to lap it up. HS even blames the kids' parents for letting them watch his content. In that respect, he's a little like a porn star. He's doing it for the money or the fame. It's not the porn star's fault your kids saw their content. I also think this new generation who grew up online aren't afraid of contradicting themselves. They aren't afraid of looking bad or ruining their reputations. They're living online, and as long as there are people watching and liking and interacting and buying their brand deal offerings and subscribing to their Substacks or whatever, nothing else seems to matter. I hate that this kind of chauvinistic, male-dominated bullshit is proliferating. I have daughters who I raised to be intelligent, independent women who are setting goals for themselves and achieving them. But just like the millions of preteen boys growing up without a positive male figure in the house, there are insecure young women out there who are willing to hitch their star to some douchebag who will treat them like shit. And why? Just so they can be adjacent to their celebrity, their internet fame. People will do a lot to be famous, or fame adjacent. I really debated whether or not to make this video, to give these assholes the time and the effort. In the end, I thought it was necessary to try and extinguish the flame on a bunch of guys who have likely never had their point of view challenged, who have never spoken to anyone outside their toxic, homophobic, closed-minded little world. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Louis Theroux's Inside the Manosphere. I'd love to read yours in the comments below. As always, film is about community. I'm Mike, and I love movies.